Hi Gemini, welcome to your October 2016 general tarot reading. I just started putting out the cards and then remembered that the tape wasn't rolling. Please let me know if you prefer just these types of readings or if you would like a separate love reading, if you have an actual opinion on the subject, that is. I've been getting some interesting feedback. Okay. I'm afraid to move this because I've been having issues with it. Okay. So in the general readings, it can be about anything, which is why I decided to kind of explore this further, because sometimes you see themes that relate to one thing, versus another, and the love readings are just focused on that one topic. So that's kind of where I was going with that. But in this particular reading, I could see either aspect. And so I'm not going to necessarily assume it's one thing versus another in October for Gemini people. What I will say is that it looks like something traumatic has occurred. Now, this could be internalized, where you're having this revelation about something in your life, but an outer event could occur that kind of shakes things up a bit in your world. And let me look at the recent past. This is, this card of the Five of Swords. I could even connect that to Gemini in a certain way, because I think 5, is connected to Mercury, and the swords are connected to the air signs, and you're ruled by Mercury. So it is that idea of communication, but communication that is chaotic and not necessarily constructive. Basically, with the Tower and the Five of Swords in reverse, in the past position, I believe that some Geminis may have been the victim of slander or other kinds of behavior that was done to you in a covert manner. So this could definitely be in the workplace. And a perfect example is you get fired and you find out that your coworker is doing your job later on. And the boss may have made some kind of phony excuse about why you were let go. But you find out that they did something against you. The Five of Swords is actually a kind of a, I'm trying to get this thing. This is not going to work very well. I'm trying to point. It's kind of an empty victory. And so if somebody tried to gain something on your, by keeping you down, or by actually making it so that you lost your job, that is ill-gotten gains. And I don't think that anyone can really thrive under those circumstances. And actually, perfect example is this. This is cause and effect. So in other words, this could even be instant karma. Okay? But the Judgment card is about, I would say everybody getting what they deserve. And if somebody has done something against you, then don't worry about it. This is also a card of rebirth. And I was saying, this person's holding this, whatever that is. It looks like a trombone or, a tuba. But it's almost like a celebration, I feel like, because they kind of come through the fire. Something that has happened, it has created a whole new, maybe an attitude or a chapter in your life. And it may have been a challenging situation, but I feel that you're better off for it, because while you were in that particular situation, things were going on behind the scenes probably, and this is creating a lot of transparency, or well, I shouldn't say transparency, because you still might not know exactly what they did, but at least you can move forward knowing that you're freed from the deception. And actually, thinking about it, in a personal relationship, the same would apply. So let's say you walked in and your spouse was in bed with your best friend. Well, that would be the Tower card, actually, something like that. And you realize that this has been going on for quite a while. That you thought this person was your friend, and I'm also speaking about your spouse. You thought that they were really in your corner, and it turns out they betrayed you. But the Judgment card kind of shows that you can't have unfairness in the universe. There's always going to be the scales balanced. But it's not about wishing revenge on anybody and wanting, anything to happen to them. It's just about the cause and effect. And, you do certain things and you get certain results. The higher message in all of this is represented by the Hierophant. Now, in this particular reading, it could be just saying that if you don't make yourself crazy by looking at the details of the situation as they occur, look at the higher message. What this is like, the papal, the clergy, and, it represents philosophy, religion, and not just looking at the petty details. Because, yes, when you look at things on that level, it can seem terribly unfair. When you kind of broaden it, bring it to a higher level, you realize that there may very well have been a reason why this needed to happen. Maybe, sometimes I feel like when our vibration increases, and this happens sometimes without our even trying, just by the nature of our experiences, or maybe it's our particular consciousness that gets expansion from certain things, and we just are in different places. This is when they say that you outgrow relationships. I think you outgrow it energetically. And not just marriages, but also friendships, where, you start out being in the same basic, vibration, and then because of individual experiences, it starts changing, and you no longer feel like you're compatible with that person. And, we don't have to make either person wrong, but we do have to kind of acknowledge when we don't feel quite right about something, so that we, just can move on, wish the other person well, and have our new adventures. And so in this case, you may have been the quote-unquote victim of the deception, but if you can look at it from a higher perspective, you may decide, what? This had to happen. This was part of my soul's growth. My higher self orchestrated this. Whatever makes sense to you, but you won't feel that sense of disempowerment of just being the poor victim, because those kinds of feelings, they're natural, they're normal, they're understandable, but they're very disempowering. The card that crosses you is related to the King of Cups, so I would read this in the reverse position. In the upright position, this can be the quintessential male energy that is very sensitive, but it's a very mature, type of a person. They're not undisciplined with their emotions. They know how to express various emotions in a productive way. But by the same token, they are also just mature in general. And so it's a very kind of healing, and if you're in a close relationship with such a person, it feels very good emotionally for in terms of like feeling like this person loves you, cares about you. But because it's a challenge card, it could be read in the reversed position. And this would be a very manipulative person, somebody who knows what makes you tick and how to push your buttons, and may try to manipulate you to get what he wants. And this person may be very moody. And so everything that I just said about the upright is going to be the opposite. So not be disciplined, maybe be a big baby, and, maybe even be self-centered about it. It's all about him. It could be a boss who is like this, and, if this is a workplace situation, but it's basically telling you to watch out for this person, because if this was the person who betrayed you, they may come back to you and say, oh man, I didn't mean it. I was just weak. This could be an actual water sign. I'm thinking Pisces, not picking on Pisces, but that's this kind of thing that Pisces would do. Because you know what? It could be true with Pisces. Pisces could be the kind of person that, because they tend to get very, influenced by their surroundings. It could be, and some Pisces like to drink, let's be honest here. I could see somebody, they go to a bar, let's say it's a guy, a male Pisces, and he has some buddies, and even though he's married, he goes with his buddies, and there are some chicks, and he cheats on you because he's in that environment under those circumstances, and he may come back and he may beg and plead. Now, I think that there might be something more, though. It's not just the Tower card. To me, is that you're just totally like taken by surprise. It's something that you didn't expect. So I don't think it would be something that minor, of a one-time shot. So I'm thinking that this is something more along the lines of like a really serious betrayal. Gemini, the King of Cups could actually be a person who is an alcoholic, has some sort of problem that they're dealing with addiction, and they may even have a mood disorder, and this is causing chaos in your life. And the problem with this type of person is that they will get you to believe that somehow you're responsible for it, or that it's not that big of a deal, and you're the one that's kind of getting all, you're getting too upset about it, and it's your problem. And that's something you're going to have to possibly navigate. And I think the best way to deal with it is not to try to defend yourself, because it's not about you. It's about that behavior that they are exhibiting. And that's just a distraction that they're doing in order to get you, to focus on something else. The attitude that you need to look at, or in this case it would be look at, not adopt. This is the Four of Cups. But it's because you don't want to be like this. This is someone who is indifferent to life, indifferent to love, or maybe has emotions that are, they always use the word flat. I would say flat is kind of an understatement sometimes. It could be a real emptiness. And, also, I have to point this out because it goes without saying that this person is being offered love. The cups relate to emotions and stuff like that. This person is being offered it. Now, this is in the clouds, so this could be even like a spiritual thing that is happening that can open your heart chakra. Maybe there's something else that you could be doing with your life. I'm not even talking about career-wise, but just something that comes into your reality. And if you're indifferent to it, that is on you. And sometimes people are so obsessed with their problems, like if they're dealing with somebody who's, having trouble themselves, that they make somebody else's problem their problem. And so you have to be really observant and see what is being offered to you. And possibly that is your way out of whatever your situation is. But you have to be the one to notice that and to appreciate that. The advice is the Three of Pentacles. I just thought of something. I hope that I did, mention the Hierophant, because I know that some people are going to be like, you forgot to mention the Hierophant. So maybe, because I'm doing the second part of this reading the next day, because something happened that just, disrupted it. So I'll kind of go back on that after I talk about this card, because this is really about building. And this can be on the financial level for sure. And, this is kind of something that you're doing. It's like your own baby. So even if it's something that isn't paying off yet, the fact that it's a 3 means it will pay off. It reminds me of the 7 of Pentacles in a lot of ways, but it's a much more active card. And I didn't want to turn this into a love reading per se, because I do feel that some of you may have been blindsided by people conspiring against you in the office place. And you may have a manipulative boss who is preying on your emotions to get you to do something. Maybe you want to leave and they're trying to keep you there. But I feel like if there's the Tower card as the main theme, some of you you may not be working with those people. And you may be dealing with a man in authority, the King of Cups in reverse, who is maybe even lying to you about what happened. That could definitely be what it is. Now, the Hierophant would just be saying that there's a higher perspective in all of this. It's easy to hyper-focus on what has happened because it feels so unfair. But the Judgment card is really talking about everything happening in divine time as it should. And so there's a saying, there are no victims, only volunteers. And even though that sounds rather harsh, it's because being a victim isn't something that any of us should aspire to do. And even if we feel that we are in the receiving end of very unfair treatment, I feel that it's important to find a way to transcend it by looking at the situation from a less personal point of view to a higher message, which is bringing it out, bringing it away from your own needs and desires, and saying, maybe it was time for me to go. Maybe my vibration was too high to work for those people anymore. Maybe they were like snakes, And maybe you even from time to time kind of fell into that. And yet you were advancing ahead of them, and it was time for you to leave. That's all. And not make it, oh, I must suck because I got fired. Or somebody got that promotion that I wanted. So I must be no good, when you're not even seeing that perhaps it is because you are at a higher level, spiritually evolved, that you do not belong there anymore. Now the outcome is the Queen of Pentacles. So for those of you who are in between jobs, I think that you're going to be you're going to be enjoying your home. Your home is your castle. It's not going to be a hut. It's going to be very luxurious. And maybe you've been working so hard you haven't had time to enjoy your everyday life, and this is going to afford you that opportunity if you look at it in a positive way. For some people, it could be that you are doing a business that is also intuitive. It's also that Queen is a feminine energy. So it's something that is from within you. It's not just, okay, what is the thing that will make the most money and I'll do it. It's, wow, this is really a part of my soul that I'm giving to the public. And I can't wait to do this thing because it's really going to speak to me. And so it's like, I feel that because you have the Three of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles, that material abundance is yours, regardless of whatever calamity might have happened. And you know what? And then this card, the Judgment card, is showing that rebirth. And you're going to, come out smelling like a rose. Probably like a 24-karat rose. So I hope you enjoyed this, Gemini. If you would like a private reading, there's a link to my website below this video. Thank you so much. Have a great October. Bye.